Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brennan's not here. Sorry, Jared, we miss you.
We miss you.
John Esterly with Rare Buzz Effects
Is in the house, and part of the reason is because he happens to be friends with the person on the other line. Person, who are you?
My name is Nick, and I am with Oneder Effects.
Correct. Amuda, you got it right. What?
Yes.
What? Why are you pointing me?
You didn't introduce yourself,
I'm getting
Todd.
ready to. Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show. We love doing this every single week, despite what Tony looks like. Anyways, so yeah, we're really thrilled that you're here. And Tony, for those who might be joining for the first time, in a briefer version that you do, could you give us the
Yes, Todd.
the elevator?
Well, what we like to do is discuss gear, specifically boutique gear. We speak to the builders and the movers and the shakers and the makers of this said boutique gear, and that's things like guitars and amps and pedals and effects and accessories.
Indeed.
And we put them all and have them with cocktails in the afternoon.
Right. Excellent. A nice gin Ricky or whatever. I don't know. Is that what they have? I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So that was pretty good there, Tony.
Yes.
Keep practicing.
Okay.
We're gonna have a fantastic show because Nick built some great pedals, and we have one of them on the table. We're gonna find out his backstory, find out his front story, and what he might be up to moving forward. So we're gonna get you all familiar with this builder.
Yes.
We have a few things that we need to take care of before we get rolling into the normal show. Just a few announcements. Rode Mics. Thank you so much to Rode Mics for providing our audio equipment. We are much obliged for the Procaster mics and the Rodecaster Pro console here.
Hey, Nick.
Works out great. Nick, thank you for being our friend out there, our correspondent in Australia.
Yes.
And also, I got a letter from one of our favorite guests that we had on. I mean, everybody's a favorite. That's not, how would I say it's one of our favorite guests?
It's like picking your
they're all
favorite
babies.
kid.
Oh, my little babies.
But who was it?
It was Nick. Nick, you're on the line. Frank Frank Daimel.
From Germany.
Yeah, that was pretty good, right?
No, not really.
I wonder if he says if he says it like all angry, like Frank Daimel.
He might.
Everybody yells.
He might after he hears this episode.
He might not like that. Anyways, Frank's a great guy, and actually, I'd love to have him back on the show.
Oh, he makes some really cool guitars.
He said, "Hey, Todd, hope all is well. I have a very good and old friend. I don't know if that means his friend is old or he's been friends with him for a long time. There's not,
or if he's good
language. Yes, or if he's very good, a very good friend. I would love to introduce you to.
Yes.
His name is Pascal Stoffels, and he originally invented the pickup Leslie, which is one of Frank's signature pieces of equipment that he puts in his
the Leslie.
Yeah, the Leslie.
Oh,
the
that's
pickup
and
Leslie.
that, by the way, is a very cool onboard effect that rotates between the bridge and the neck pickup and gives you kind of a vibrato-y kind of
Yes.
It's like nothing you've ever heard, and there's some really cool
It's remarkable
videos out there that demonstrate it, so check it out.
It's kind of it would be like if you were sitting in the middle of if you were sitting between two oval racetracks, but there was only one car on each.
Yeah, it's called the Doppler effect.
Yeah, sure. I think that was taken though. Anyways, an onboard unit for guitars which alternates the pickups automatically, as Tony just said.
Well, it was developed with Lee Ronaldo in mind. That's the Lee in Les Lee. The Les Lee.
Explain who Lee Ronaldo is.
So Lee Ronaldo was with a band called Sonic Youth. They were kind of a cutting-edge experimental noise band, and
maybe the head of the tip of the spear.
The
of
preeminent.
that entire genre.
The preeminent. Yes. And both he and Thurston Moore were well known for their experimental guitar stuff, and they used a lot of jazz
but
masters.
Not too heady. It's not like King Crimson or something.
No, it's something that I think everybody could listen to.
Yeah, it was messy.
But anyhow, so Lee Ronaldo, Frank Dimel had, I guess, made a guitar or two for Lee, and this was an onboard effect. And again, it's very cool. It's unlike any other vibrato that you've probably heard because it's really switching between the two pickups instead of, alternating the phase in a single signal.
Yes, like a Leslie speaker.
Correct.
Yes. So anyways, or not really like a Leslie speaker. You could have said no. I'm wrong a lot.
You're never wrong.
You gave
Todd.
me the stink face. Everybody's like, what's he talking about?
No,
Todd.
Todd.
Anyways, so he says his website, we've spent a lot of time on this. His website is, if you're interested in this, everybody, all right, write this down. Pickup Leslie. Pickup LESLEE.com. He just released he just released it. It is publicly available. The new version for any guitar.
Oh, nice.
And it's an easy drop-in kit. The most advanced thing is it doesn't require a battery.
What?
Yes. And it says, all the best, Frank! There's actually an exclamation point, so I think that's how he wanted me to read it.
How does it not require a battery?
I am not Mr. Pascal, so don't ask me, dude.
Is it use solar light?
I don't know. Maybe
I'm
it
gonna
uses
have
the
to dig into
energy
this.
of the guitar player. I don't know. Anyway,
Wow.
so that's out there. Pickupleslie.com. Check this out. You may really dig it. So thank you, Frank, for sending that our way. Boy, oh boy, we need to get... What's going on in our music world this week? Let's do this.
Just
Tony,
jump in.
you're going to hit it off, and then we're going to talk to our friend Nick
Yes.
over at Wonder Pedals.
Well, it just so happened that earlier this afternoon, John Esterly stopped over at my shop. And if you remember in the last episode, am I stealing your thunder?
You're taking mine.
All right, I'm going to skip over that. So John was at my shop.
Okay.
Does anyone else notice how expensive guitar cases have gotten? I mean, I used to be able to get a guitar case for like $50 or $60.
You mean like a hard case?
Like a hard shell case.
Yeah, with the plush on the inside.
Yeah. You can't touch a guitar case for under $150 anymore.
Not like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Unless you go to like Music Go Round or something.
Maybe, but even then, I'm shocked. And, I don't know, maybe it's supply chain. I don't know. But they've literally doubled, in some cases tripled, just for the case.
Yeah.
So here's a little trick that I'm going to share with our listeners.
Put it in a golf bag.
No.
Oh.
If you go and do an Amazon search, and the reason I bring this up is just today I got my case in. And let's just say in this case, I was looking for an ES335 case.
Okay.
So I typed that in. And then there's a little, when you go to sort or to refine your search, you can go down and select used. And a lot of times what happens is people will buy cases or whatever, and they, return them, whatever. And Amazon, they generally don't just put them back into rotation. They go into a separate facility where they sell any return merchandise as used. And you can save anywhere from 20 to 50% off.
Save 20 to 50%.
That's right. So today, for instance, I ordered a used ES335 case made by Gator. Cool case. It's a brown case. It's got a pink lining. It even has the
Nice.
Victoria's Secret cover for the guitar.
Yeah.
And I get the case. I pull it out, and it looks fine, except in one area, part of the Tolex had lifted up. It was bent back, which is probably why it was returned. Now, I ended up getting the case, I think it's normally about $160, $170 for under $100 shipped.
Not bad.
And it took more time to heat up my hot glue gun than it did to fix the Tolex.
Brilliant.
So it's worth checking out if you have options and if you go down, even if you you don't even have to do a search like that. If you're looking at something and at the bottom there might be some used options, always check that out because I guarantee you'll save some money doing it that way.
Yeah, well, especially if it's not electronics and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, some people buy that stuff and return it anyhow.
Somebody open it up, drop a deuce, and send it back. I don't know.
That sounds like something you would do, Todd.
Wow.
I don't know. That's somebody out there surely has done that.
We got there quick, didn't we?
Yes, we did. All right, next.
Yes. All right, Nick. How about yourself? What's going on? And we talked about what you could talk about, so you should talk about it.
Yeah, I've actually just sold my 1977 ES335. Which I very much dug, but it was just kind of, it's one of those things. It cost a lot of money and I didn't love it as much as it costs. Like the like to cost ratio just wasn't quite there.
Sure.
And when I went to Chicago Music Exchange with my buddies, I was just kind of strumming a few 335 style guitars on the wall. And I was just like, nope. And I came across a Heritage H535, the artisan aged one. And I was like, oh no, this feels so good. And I kind of took it off the wall, strummed it. And I was like, oh, it feels great. Sounds great. That's not good. Then I plugged it into an amp and I was like, oh boy. And my buddy was like, oh, you're buying that, aren't you? And I'm like, I can't. So I texted home and I was just like, hey, I'm going to come home with a pretty expensive guitar, but I am selling another guitar. And my wife was like, yeah, live your life. Actually, what she said was a typo. She said, love your life with no punctuation. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, okay, either it meant live your life, like do what you want, have fun.
Elsewhere.
Or love your life now, because when you come home, you're a dead man.
Or it was like a sarcastic, like, wow, love your life. Like you can just go with your friends and buy guitars. Right. And I was like, wait, what does this mean?
There's three different meanings.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I was just kind of like freaking out. But yeah, anyway, came home with the guitar and I sold another guitar that not my 335 to pay for it. And the 335 just hung out for a long time and it finally sold. And then I really wanted another amp and I've been looking at Magnatone amps, which there's definitely a big cost to like ratio there. I had to make sure I really liked it. And the one that I really liked was just out of reach, the Super 59 M80, which is, they're kind of 45 watt Marshall Plexi, Billy Gibbons co-design sort of thing. And they go for a lot of money. And I was like, well, that's the one I want.
How much is a lot of money, Nick?
$3,100 for just the head.
Yeah, that is a lot of money.
Woof.
And the cab, honestly, the 212 cab you can get with it is like $2,000 for the cab. And I was just kind of like, well, maybe in another lifetime, I'll end my search now. It was nice looking at these. And literally within hours, my buddy texted me and was like, Gear Page, super good deal on one, only $1,800 shipped.
Geez.
Wow.
And I was like, $1,800 shipped. That must be the 15 watt one. No thanks. And he goes, nah, check this out. And I made a Gear Page account. I'm not on there. And I wrote the guy and I was like, oh, is this still available? And he was just like, yep, PayPal me this and I'll send. And yeah, he sold it to me just right then and there. It happened real fast.
Nice.
So yeah, on Saturday, I'm getting an amp I just didn't think I was ever going to own. And I'm really excited about that. And it's been a long time since I've kind of, I guess that's a lie. I was going to say a long time since I've gotten a new amp, but yeah, I've been in guitar mode for a while. So I like shifting gears and I go between studio gear, amps, guitars. I do a little rotation, except for pedals now. I don't really get many pedals just because I'm in that business.
Right.
And I don't know, it hasn't really lost its magic, but I get to put things into the pedals like guitars and then amps and, I mic them up. So all the fun, it's funny. I'm considering a guitar an accessory to a pedal, but
that's
So how do you, in comparison to your 335, what do you like more about the Heritage?
I think there was just something. I want to say it was mostly the pickups in the old Gibson, and I think they're the Tim Shaw humbuckers, which I really love. I have an 81 Les Paul Custom, and it just sounds phenomenal, plays so well. It's probably my number one guitar, which is what I say about every one of my guitars. And it just sounded a little muddy to me, and a little bit, I don't know. It didn't have the thing. Sometimes you just pick up a guitar and you're like, yeah, it's close. And then, when I picked up that Heritage, I think it has, I'm not very good with pickup names, but they're like the 59s, whatever those are called.
Like
maybe
Seymour Duncans. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Seymour Duncan 59s. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever really cared for those. And my buddy was like, yeah, but when they put them in a hollow body, a semi-hollow, it's like a totally different thing. They just kind of have this like snap and this bite to them. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for in a semi-hollow guitar. Like I want it to have some clarity and not get all woofy. And so when I plugged it in, I was just like, there it is. And then I went to the neck pickup, which is a big test. A lot of 2 humbucker style guitars, you go to the neck pickup and it's just
tubby
woof. Yeah. Tubby woof city, which is where I live coincidentally. And but this was just like crystal clear. And I was like, oh, yep. Like whatever this magic was. And something about the artisan aging. I really love picking up a guitar and it feels broken in like an old baseball glove or whatever, but also just, it sounds different when you're playing it acoustically. Like there's this, it almost breathes. And, I'm usually not one of those people who cares about that sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's all about the pickup. It's all about the amp, whatever. But when I can sit down with it unplugged and it just feels like a great instrument, that's a big selling point for me. So,
yeah.
And it's tobacco burst too, which is not really a color that I'm even drawn to, but I was just like, well, this is the magic guitar. It's my color now. So so I'm opening up my world a little.
Myself.
That's cool. That's great. And it's, what's really cool is you got that, you've got an amp coming to you that you thought you'd never could get. So I'd say that's a damn fine week.
Yeah. Better go get your finger slide.
Oh, I got them right here. I got them right in front of me for some reason. Yeah. I ordered a slide tutorial, like a lesson on like whatever that, is it like udemy.com?
Yep.
I ordered one of those courses like a year ago, as if I have time to like sit and like do something. So I should probably like cash in. I think it was a RJ Ronquillo one.
Oh yeah.
So I gotta hit him up and be like, I'm gonna learn how to play like you, man. I'll be like, yeah, sure, dude. Okay.
You are my idol.
And then one other thing, I got a Rickenbacker 330 a few months ago.
Yay!
Which is never
love your life.
Yeah, love my life. Literally my whole life, I've been told avoid these guitars. They have these quirks.
Yeah.
They're not made in a way that blah blah blah. And also, when I played in my band, it was like a very humbucker, high gain amp kind of band. So I was like, why would I get, a Rickenbacker? Dan from the band The Suicide Machines played a Rickenbacker 330, and it was like held together with duct tape. So that was kind of like, that was like the only guitar that I had really played, a Rickenbacker 330. So that was my only way to really judge it.
Uh-huh.
And I saw that matte black finish one, and I was like, I'm going to go to the guitar store, Motor City Guitar, and I'm going to hope I hate it. Like, I really hope this sucks. And, it was kind of one of those things. I strummed it a few times, and Jacob, he's our good friend who works there, I looked at him, I'm like, I'm buying this, aren't I? And he was just like, yeah, dude, all right.
No, there, and contrary to what you might have heard, I mean,
not contrary, he's right.
I don't like when you interrupt me, Todd. I am going to take your head off one of these days. No, I wouldn't do that. Maybe. But they're actually made very well. And one of the weird things about them, if you ever get in a situation, you can't do a neck reset really on a Rickenbacker because of the construction.
Right.
There's basically, they construct the body, and there's a slot that the tenon of the neck slides into, and you cannot, really do a neck reset. Now, that being said, I've never had a Rickenbacker that needed a neck reset. So there's something definitely done right there. And they're not, some people think they're very fragile, and they're pretty robust instruments because they're made out of maple and walnut for the most part, and those are pretty indestructible woods.
If I was a guitar repair person that specialized in resetting necks, I would name my company the Guitaropractor.
I like that.
You like that?
I think you should start doing that because nobody wants to do neck resets.
Yeah. All right, John.
So Tony was about to steal my thunder, but
I'm going to do it right now.
thankfully he backed off. So, as you recall last week, Mr. Dudzik was nice enough to gift us with these Chinese import fake clons.
Yes.
And
I don't think they're fake because it says on the inside on the circuit board.
it
Klon.
does say clon.
So I think it's the real thing.
But, when we broke it open on air last week, schematically it's correct. But I had some questions about the quality of some of the parts. And so today I broke it open and kind of snagged the low-hanging fruit. I swapped out the diodes for more appropriate Soviet germanium diodes. And then the op amps, I don't believe were real, which, considering what they were supposed to be, doesn't make any sense because they're not anything magical. So I swapped out those parts and took the fake clon to Tony's shop.
What
this
else
afternoon.
did you do to it?
And I changed the LED to pink because pink sells. And so we had an opportunity to kind of do a side-by-side comparison between the original unmodified and the modified, and just those three components really brought it to life. I mean, I don't want to say the headroom, but like the voicing of the pedal.
It just sounded bigger.
Yeah.
It sounded bigger. And, it may be slightly darker because I think that the tone control, I think was, I had it turned down more on the unmodified version. No, reverse that. I had to turn it.
Somebody
it up.
kickstart Tony, for crying out loud.
I had to turn the tone up a little bit on the modified version and maybe down a little bit on the unmodified version. But other than that, it's the whole thing. I mean, I plugged it in and I just did my normal, pretty much 12 o'clock settings, and it just sounded massive.
I can't wait to check this out because that was my complaint when I played it up against I A-B'd it against the Sierra Tone.
You should. I should have brought it so you could try it.
Well, what I asked John to do is to do that to mine as well as the one that we're going to give away.
Oh,
everybody.
smart.
Yes.
That's smart.
Yeah. So John.
And let's make Jared suffer through without it.
Yeah, John is.
I already texted him.
Yeah.
I know.
John has been kind enough to offer his services up there with a modicum of compensation.
I mean, and it really did make a huge difference.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to
thanks for doing that, John. Thanks for leaving me that one, and I especially like the pink LED.
Actually, if you're doing those, maybe we can put orange ones in. That'd be fun.
I do have orange LEDs.
Sweet. All right. Well, this is.
How about you, Todd?
This has been a whole show of just like
what's going on in the world this week.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll make this one shorter. I was gonna do two, but I'll save the one for next week. I was watching. I can't remember who I was watching, but I was watching somebody, and I looked at the headstock and I was like, what is on this headstock? Now, I have, if I'm gigging and stuff, I don't really have anywhere to put picks. And I don't want to gum up. I used to, like, on some guitars, I'd roll up a little thing of duct tape and, just use it for the show and everything. But I'm like, man, I don't want to keep doing that. It's kind of janky. And
have you ever tried gaffer's tape?
Yeah, I do. I have a huge roll of it.
I love gaffer's tape.
Gaffer's tape is fantastic. Anyways, so I looked and I saw that this was a guitar. This is from Guitar Assassin. Now, I don't know why he named that company. It's actually in Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I ordered a couple things from this said Guitar Assassin. And what it is, it's like a strip of like a less than an 1/8 inch. It's like maybe a couple, like less than an 1/8 inch. So several 16ths tall.
Let's see it.
Hang on a second. I'm holding it.
Get it here.
And it's super, super gummy. It's like the kind of it's you know what it is? It's the same material that they put on, like a dashboard phone holder, where you stick it on and you're like, how is this sticking? And then you pull it off and you're like, how is this still sticking?
That's approximately 1/16 of an inch.
Okay, perfect. So I was right. Anyhow, and it's about 2 and 3 inches long, and it comes in clear or black. And I think they have white too. But I said, I'm going to get a couple clear ones and a couple black ones. And what you do is it's covered in plastic, and you peel one side off and you stick it on if you're playing the guitar, you stick it on the headstock edge.
Okay.
And then you just press your picks on it. And I'm like, holy crap, that's freaking genius. Or you can stick it anywhere else you want on the guitar, but it's made. Just think about if you're playing like a 3/3, any Gibson Les Paul, right?
Right.
It would be just kind of staring right up at you, and then you can just reach up and go and pull the pick off, and it stays gummy, and it holds the picks. I couldn't believe it. And
does it do anything to the finish?
No, because it's just there's no adhesive on it. It's the nature of the material. That's why it's so genius.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
have you verified that it doesn't do anything to the finish?
Oh yeah, I verified it scientifically. Okay. So, anyways, but I'm trying to remember the person that I saw it on was like a very it might have been Pete Thorne. No, it wasn't Pete Thorne. It was somebody who I was like,
Lee Ronaldo.
Okay, well if they have it. No, it was Slash.
Ah,
that's where I saw it.
That's
where I saw it. Yeah, I was watching the documentary. I was like, what is that? And he had it on like every guitar. I'm like, well, sold. I mean, if he's using it, yeah, on like $100,000 Gibson or whatever.
Keep going.
Well, that's his. Anyway. Okay, numbers. Whatever. You got me stuck. Now I'm in a loop. Ugh. Anyhow, so I brought one in for you and one for John.
Nice.
Thank you.
So you guys can try it out, and then
I'll stick it on.
I tell you what,
one of John's guitars.
One of the things that we talk about is like when we do the tour gear stuff.
Yeah.
I've been asked so many times, you should do more ads. I'm like, I'd be happy to do a couple more.
Yeah, not too much.
But not too many. Because I don't want to make this just a bunch of ads. But also, I'm not going to do an ad for anything that I don't absolutely say, yes, this is awesome. I use this product. We have verified it collectively, and we all believe that this is a great product.
I think that's smart.
I think this might be one of those, and I might have to talk to Guitar Assassin and see if they want to do something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So here you go, gents.
All right.
Well, thank you.
And I found out that if you don't, if it starts to get ungummy because you're not, it's got dirt on it or whatever, you just like wipe it off with water and it resets itself. I don't know. This is space material. Okay. Hey, speaking of tour gear, Tony.
Yes, Todd.
Let's do that right now.
So, Todd.
Yes, sir.
I'm in a bit of a kerfuffle.
Oh.
You can't say that on this podcast.
Yes.
You can't? Oh, is it still G-rated?
It is.
Well, anyhow, this kerfuffle that I'm in, I've got this wonderful pedal that John Esterly just modified.
Yep.
And here I am. I've got like a bunch of other pedals. And I'm trying to figure out what I can do to be able to use that pedal. I'm so tired of plugging one pedal in and then unplugging it and going to another
having
pedal.
the extra long, big cords hanging out all over the place and stuff.
Do you have any suggestions
I do.
for
You can
me?
go to tourgeardesigns.com.
Why didn't I think of that?
I know, well, because I'm the smart one. You can get loads of different sizes. I just went last night to get a couple for something else that I'm working on, a project that I'll be sharing out. Because I was like, well, now I have to get one of these things that I wasn't prepared to do. A TRS cable. yes. It's mysterious. Anyways, go to tourgeardesigns.com. Use the guitar knobs in the discount area once you go to...
What's that discount code again?
The guitar knobs.
All lowercase, all one word.
Save 10% on your order.
Wait a minute. You're saying 10% on top of an already...
Crazy affordable stuff. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. I know.
10% on the
And
whole
guess
order.
What? Just so you guys know, usually when I do go get those, get myself some, you know what I do? I get a couple extra and I give them out and I give them away to our supporters. So I did that again, and we're going to give a couple more patch cables away from Tour Gear.
Oh, that's cool. Tom.
All right, everybody. Hang on. No, that's not it. No. Oh. I thought I loaded it in. Oh. Let me get a little bit. I didn't.
You didn't do that.
Okay, stop.
Stop the crickets.
Okay, here we go.
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. Hey, all right. We've got Nick from Oneder Effects. What is your 4 on the floor?
First, I have the Boss OC2. And when I was picking my 4 on the floor, I kind of had to make a decision. Do I just want to have 4 that I would play around with and have fun? Would I gig with all these? Do I put anything sentimental? So the OC2 for me is both sentimental and just super fun. It's probably one of my favorite Boss pedals. And if I was just going to jam for a few hours by myself, I would probably most likely have 1 octave down the whole time.
Oh,
and just
really?
Riff. It's just so much fun. And ever since I was a kid, I just loved going into a music store and plugging into, the big wall of Boss pedals and always finding the octave. And then soon after that, finding the band CKY. And that was kind of like their main riffage. So, yeah, it just has a soft spot in my heart. And, I finally got an old one. I really like the OC3, and I know they have some other new ones, but this one kind of has that nice glitchy sort of nature. And, just loads of fun. And it's brown.
That's awesome. Yeah, brown pedals. You really do have to love them. Otherwise, you would not be using them at all.
The UPS of pedals.
Yeah. Love your pedals. The UPS of pedals, exactly. Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2, speaking of number 2, it's another brown pedal. And this is the Electronic Audio Experiments Halberd.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And this one is one of my favorite drive pedals that is very much me, except I think I use it a little bit differently than most people. I think people really like the higher gain, throaty, sort of clangy clipping options on this thing. I like to use sort of aggressive, slightly mid-scooped sound. I think it might be the toggle all the way down, and I keep the gain fairly low. And it's sort of my first stage. And one of the reasons it's one of my favorites for that is it has a very smooth decay. A lot of pedals, including some that I've made, have a little bit of a crackle. It's whether it's the op amp or the diodes kind of almost fighting to let that all come out as the signal weakens nice and smoothly. And the Halberd's super nice with that.
Did you get the bigger body? No, because that's the smaller body is the brown one. I had the brick red one. That was a slightly bigger enclosure.
Nice. Yep. This was the small one, which definitely it sold me. And seeing the pictures of like the internals of this thing, I was just kind of like, oh my goodness. And a lot of times, I'll reach out if I want a pedal and be like, hey, would you like to do a trade? With another fellow builder. But with this one, I was just like, that's a work of art, man. I'm just going to buy it. So, real big fan of this. I've played probably 3 shows in the last 2 years, just filling in for bands. And I've used it on bass as well. And
oh yeah, I suppose that would be a good one for bass.
yeah, and I've put it after fuzzes as well.
Really?
Yeah, just to kind of like I have a couple of different fuzz pedals that I've had in my line, and there's no tone control, and in one case there's not even a volume control. So putting the Halberd after it kind of becomes like a nice EQ booster, smoother outer. So kind of does a bunch of stuff, and I was like, hey, that's brown too. Let's put it on 4 on the floor.
Nice. Well, yeah, John Snyder's a genius. So drink.
And incredibly helpful.
Super nice dude.
Yeah, I asked him a couple questions the other day on a pedal I was working on, and I thought he was going to say, hey, maybe you should try this, like, period. And he went ahead and, I call it sight read the schematic that I sent him. And he, stream of consciousness, typed every single thing that he came across and his thoughts, even if it was just like, wow, that's really cool looking. And I was like, oh my goodness, man, I didn't mean for you to like take time. I just thought you were going to have some quick, easy fix. And yeah, just so generous with his knowledge and time, and make some great pedals. So yeah.
That's cool, man. I dig it. It's a little, how do you say, when you see preamp on the front of a pedal, it can kind of play with your head a little bit. You're like, okay, how do I best use this? Preamps, they're not as I don't think familiar to us in the sense of, oh, an overdrive does this, a distortion does this, a fuzz does this. Preamp, how is that different from a boost, and that kind of thing? So that could be a good 101 show, actually. Preamps 101.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Pedal nomenclature.
Yes, pedal nomenclature 101. That'll go right through the roof on the old Googles.
Yeah, I think one thing that one thing that I kind of picked up when I started, designing and working with pedals was that a preamp really just is like a drive pedal with EQ, or it doesn't have EQ, and it's just like a saturation device, or it's just
a
EQ.
level.
Yeah, so it's kind
boost.
of really most of my pedals are before the amp, they're all preamplifier devices.
Right.
But preamp definitely makes it feel classy. You're just like, oh, dude, I got an entire preamp in this box.
Yes.
And that's a little bit more, fancy than saying, I got this stomp box, make some dirt. It's like, okay, man, but do you have a preamp? Yeah.
Classy.
I'm going to make a preamp.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
We call that a guitar.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a post preamp.
Yeah, it's a post preamp. So anyways, how about number 3?
All right. I'll just come out and say it. It's the Camel Tone Nard.
Okay.
Yep. Camel Tone Electronics.
I got to look that one up. I'm not familiar.
The pedal is called the Nard.
Right.
Okay, now I'll explain. So Andy, he runs Camel Tone Electronics. He's sort of rebranded as Potential Audio, makes some really great cables. And I met him when he played in a band called the Super Weeks.
Okay.
And I played in a band called the Apology Tour. And it was really funny because we just kind of became fast friends, because I went to one of their shows and I was talking to their guitar player, Evan Bernard.
Right.
So this is kind of the pedal designed with that guitar player by the other guitar player in that band, the Super Weeks. So this is the Nard. And we were talking pedals, whatever. And they were like, hey, Andy over there has a pedal company. And this was like 5 or 6 years ago, way before I even knew how to solder, to be honest. And I was like, that is so cool. We started talking about pedals, whatever. And when I met that band, this is a little bit of a tangent, but kind of cool. I was talking about my baritone guitar and my synthesizer that I have on stage with me in my new band. And Evan, I think he thought I was making fun of him. And he's like, oh, yeah, you do that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, cool. Like, what tuning are you in then? And he kind of had this way about him, and I was like, what's wrong with you, dude? And I realized he also played a baritone guitar and had a synthesizer in his band.
So
and I was
he
like,
thought you were.
So I thought he was kind of making fun of me, like, oh yeah, dude, I got a baritone too, and I play a Korg DS20. I'm like, I have a Korg DS20. And we started just talking, and we realized we both were very much doing the same sort of thing. So I watched his band, and I was like, I love your band. Can I please play you my songs at the local venue in Flint, Michigan, over the PA after the show? So I played them like the mixes or masters that we were doing with our band, the Apology Tour. And they were like, why are we not best friends?
Yeah.
And we became, fast friends. So fast forward, I'm talking to Andy, the guitar player, and I'm like, I kind of want someone to design a pedal for me. And Wonder Studios is my studio. I, record bands, produce, mix, whatever. I want to have like my signature sound. I'll have someone build. And he was just like, why don't you build it yourself? And I was like, well, I don't know how. And he was like, well, it's pretty easy. And he sent me a kit with video instruction that he offered to other people as well, how to build a Camel Tone Electronics Nard distortion pedal. And it was the first pedal I ever built, and it sounds awesome. They market it as the Blue Album by Weezer in a box.
Right.
And it really does that thing. And it's kind of a take on like the DAM Sonic Titan with a few changes, very simple. And yeah, just a great, it sounds like power amp distortion, and it pairs well with the Halberd. I don't have a fuzz on my 4 on the floor, but if you crank both pedals, I love fuzz that is basically a fuzzy distortion. So those two together sound awesome.
Nice.
It's the one I'm holding in my hand right now is the current production model. They still sell them. So I recommend check them out if you want a pedal that is called a Nard by a company called Camel Tone. And it's great. And without Andy pushing me to learn how to solder, I wouldn't be here today talking to you.
That's cool. Nice. What a great story.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Number 4.
All right. So here's one that came out of left field. The Old Blood Noise Endeavors Black Cap.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
This is a dual, I want to say, harmonic tremolo.
Mm-hmm. I have that pedal.
I am in love with it. And tremolo is one of my favorite sounds in the world. It's just something about it, on an old Fender amp or whatever, the Strymon Flint, I always love popping that on. So when I heard about this, I was just kind of like, wait, this is 2 tremolos. Why would I want 2? And you could put them in series or parallel and change, the rates, and there's a ramp. And you can kind of get these cool faux Leslie sounds. We were talking about Leslie's earlier. Mm-hmm. And also you can make one just like throb really slowly. Sorry, I know this is a clean podcast. And then the other one, you can kind of, make it do like triplets of the slow throb or 4 times as fast. So you kind of get these really cool pulsing, clashing sort of sounds that can completely change whether you do series or parallel. So
yeah, they kind of like sit on top of each other in some sort of magical way.
Yeah, and I'm not like a huge modulation fan. I love chorus pedals, but when you turn on a chorus, you're just like, yeah, that's a chorus. It's a small clone. It's got one knob. It does the thing, and I love it. But when I can create something that when you can't pinpoint what it is, that is such a cool feeling. When it's like, yo, that's a tremolo, but there's like another thing going on.
Company off of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is doing, but I like it.
I mean, that's one of I think what comes to mind when I think of something like that is like How Soon Is Now, the opening of that.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, that those were 2 different Fender Twins that he was running parallel into, but one with 2 different rates on the tremolos, and that's what gives it that kind of choppy, almost Bo Diddley-ish kind of sound. But that I think you can kind of emulate that with the pedals similar to that.
Yeah, almost like a slapback tremolo, if that's a thing. Yeah. So yeah, a big fan of that. So I kind of went with the 4 on the floor being a mix of just sentimental value, some good story time, and also just fun. And, I obviously didn't want to use any of my own pedals because the reason I make my pedals is what I would want and what I would use. So basically, I set out to make every pedal that I would want on my board.
Yeah.
So picking other pedals was actually kind of difficult, not just because it's like, oh, wait, what would I use in place of what I use now that I've designed and built? But also, it's just wanted to shout out some of my friends. There's
also it's against the rules. So
yeah, exactly.
First and foremost,
they say punk rock is about just falling in line.
Rules are for fools.
And like for example, so many. Even John, has an incredible rat style pedal. That's sitting right next to me, the Snitch. Ooh. And this one's made out of wood. And like, I was like, oh man, but I have another friend who does a rat style pedal and another one. And I was like, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I'm like, okay, no rats allowed. So I made some other rules for myself. I was almost late today coming here because I didn't want to hurt feelings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to give the Snitch a shout out because I really like that thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Very cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are well into our typical stride of show, which was great because we're talking naturally and we're having a good time. So
that's right.
I'm not going to try to cut this short just because you are getting impatient. No, you just have to finish now and pick it up.
Just drive further.
Drive tomorrow. Listen to it on our drive tomorrow. Whatever.
Drive further.
Keep
all
driving.
in one.
Keep driving. That's what Tony says. So let's get on with finding out about Wonder pedals. First of all, where does the name come from?
All right. So if we take a step back from Oneder Effects,
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
you're allowed to call it. You're allowed to call it Wonder Pedals. I've heard lots of people say that. And
well, I'm going to say Oneder Effects. Oneder Effects. Oneder Effects. It's committed memory. Now go ahead.
Oh, heck yeah. All right. So, yeah, Oneder Effects was named after my studio, Wonder Studios. And yeah, I could go a little further back from there. But as a sidebar, I was maybe going to make one pedal, maybe one or two kinds of pedals, and it would be my studio's sort of signature pedal, like my studio's signature sound, because my main job is being a studio engineer, producer, mixer. But then with the pandemic, bands kind of stopped coming into the studio for good reason, and people started buying pedals for good reason. And when my wife, the accountant, did my taxes at the end of 2020 and 2021, she was like, this is your job. Oneder Effects is your job.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah. So I was just kind of like, okay. So, but yeah, before that, Wonder Studios, that was named after a band called The Wonders from a movie called That Thing You Do.
Of course.
And when I named the studio, I started calling it Oneder Studios.
Perfect.
And a lot of people didn't get it. I guess people are younger than me now who make music. So I was just like, okay, to make it easy, I'm just going to call it Wonder Studios. But calling it Wonder Studios didn't make it much easier because it's still phonetically spelled Oneder. Yes. So I kind of started accepting both, and I'm okay with that. So the correct way is Wonder. If you want to say Oneder, like I get that you get the joke and I'm down with that. But the one thing that does bother me is if someone from that doesn't, follow my page, or if someone just heard of me or they saw me in like a promoted poster, an ad, and they kind of type out like a gotcha moment, like, oh, like Oneder, ever heard of that movie? There's already a movie. I'm like, yeah, it's from the movie. Okay. It's like, you're not telling me that I ripped this off and I should know better. It's like, no, it's a tribute. It's one of my favorites. So, yeah, that's the kind of weird convoluted thing. Maybe I'll change it to Wonder, Wonder one day. I'm not sure.
Or just the number one with a dur at the end.
I never heard it. I never said it in my head as anything but Wonder. Only, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, Wonder. I wonder if that's if it's a play off his last name or something. When I first, because I contacted you actually a while ago, and as I recall, I believe you said, "Thank you. I would really like to. I don't think I'm in a place where I can do that right now yet."
Yeah, and I was looking back through those emails, and I was like, what was the reason that I didn't do it? And I think it was in the middle of me switching all of my foot switching to relay bypass and hating it.
Oh.
I was having a lot of issues. My Wonder Drive pedal with the relay did some weird voodoo stuff. Like the pedal would turn on when you turned off your amplifier, and the pedal would turn on when you turned on your amplifier. There was crazy voltage things going on, and I had some smart people working on it, and they were just like, "Bro, your circuit's broken." And I was kind of losing my mind over it, and I was just like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. Also, these clickless foot switches, I don't really like the way they feel personally. So I kind of just did it because that's kind of like the expensive.
I'll ignore that comment, but I love the clickless stuff personally.
So that's the thing. I do love them. Like my halberd here, this brown guy, it's got them. It's great. But
was it just the particular part?
I'm not quite sure, but I didn't have time to worry about it any longer. And I was talking to, I think it was Zach from Mythos Pedals, and he went, "Oh, dude, just go with the switch. Here's where we order our switches. They're great. They have a low failure rate. They're cheap." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I could just switch back." And I did, and I've never been happier. Like it's one of those things I always know it's going to work out for me when I build it. And also, I guess when I was in, I should say this, I was in a band for 13 years and we toured for 10 years, 9 or 10 months out of the year. So I was constantly gone. Like I was a touring musician, fronting a band, singing and playing guitar. And we were never home for more than 2.5 months at a time for a full decade. And so I have a lot of experience playing live, and that's kind of part of what makes me confident in the pedals that I make. It's like, I know what I would want to hear live and in the studio, because those are two things that I've definitely gotten my 10,000 hours in on.
Yeah.
Pedal building, I've got like 4 hours, but as far as playing and recording, I've been around the literal block, and the block being the world. So I was like, you know what, this imposter syndrome stuff, it's okay, because I barely know how to solder and I'm burning holes in my basketball shorts, but I know what I want the pedal to sound like.
Soldering while you were sitting like cross-legged or something?
Oh, you know how many times I'm trying to eat pretzels or something while I have a soldering iron in my hand? Or I'm being funny and trying to make toast with a soldering iron and write stuff.
I'm Edward Soldering Hands. Ow, ow, ow.
That's it. Yeah, it happens. So with the whole playing live thing, I was like, you know what? I do like feeling that haptic feedback of hitting a switch. It's very subtle. But I was like, yeah, that's kind of where I come from. It feels rock and roll to me, so I'm like, I'm okay staying there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw a clarifying thing in here real quick, okay?
Oh, sure.
When it comes to modulation, not necessarily drive, that's where for whatever reason, I'm like, no, I don't need it to go clunk clunk and then the trem comes on.
I am 100% with you on that. I started working on a delay pedal, and with somebody I probably shouldn't talk about yet, because who knows if it's not a thing. I don't want people to be disappointed, but it's like all good to go, clickless bypass, tap tempo. And then, as John knows, we were just talking about this in our little Discord secret society. The digital world is really messed up right now as far as the supply chain. So yeah, I will have a clickless pedal in my future. I don't know when it'll come around. I don't know. I don't follow these things. I just kind of sit and wait for someone to tell me. So I really hope that I get to do that because I'm kind of I'm almost done making dirt pedals.
When you say almost done, you're just like moving on because you've done a bunch of dirt pedals?
Pretty much. I kind of told myself I need to make the whole bottom row of what I would want on my pedal board.
Yeah.
So I got my fuzz, I got my low gain distortion, I got my high gain distortion, and then I've got my my Wonder Drive is like the kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but like a very weird shaped Swiss Army knife that does things that other pedals don't do, which was my happy accident. We could talk about that more too. And then I think I have like one more fuzzy type thing that I'm working on. My biggest pedal that I put out was the Fuzzhausen, which was a signature model pedal for a pro wrestler. And I know that's a weird statement, but
no, that falls in line. I mean, that's the kind of kitschy stuff that people love,
Yeah, so I was kind of like, there's a wrestler named Danhausen. He looks like a demon. He sounds like Mr. Burns, and he was blowing up kind of on YouTube and like the small indie wrestling circuit. And I was kind of like, hey, buddy, haha, do you want to do a fuzz pedal? And he was like, yeah. He doesn't play guitar.
Yeah, what is that?
And his yeah, exactly. And his slogan, his catchphrase was very nice, very evil. So he kind of, he lures the crowd in by being very nice, but he has evil intentions. So he was like, if there could be a very nice and a very evil mode, that would be great. And I already had a no knob fuzz pedal in mind with 2 foot switches, a mini pedal.
That's
and
cool.
The very evil side is basically feedback, oscillation, really hard to deal with. You have to fight through it with your guitar, and you can manipulate the pitch with your volume or tone knobs, a wah pedal, whatever, if you don't have a buffer before it. So it's a very fun, like synthy, but strange little baby device that just, for lack of a better word, totally dooms. And I was like, cool, maybe there are 30 independent wrestling fans who play guitar who would like this. And I think 550 units later, we had to call it good.
Wow.
He signed to a big TV deal with AEW, which is pretty much, I want to say, as big as WWE now. So he's on TV every week. And basically, we kind of had to do a little cease and desist before they asked us to cease and desist. Before they wanted their cut, Right. So it was like an amicable, like, hey, I think this needs to stop here.
Yeah.
But he said, never say never. We can very much bring it back down the road, because this is something that a wrestling company would never make themselves.
Right.
But yeah, me personally building 550 pedals, that was pretty much my 2021.
Wow.
Like it was, and I guess the beginning part of 2022. Yeah, and I'm so thankful I got that opportunity. And also I kind of laugh every time I see his weird, stupid face in front of me. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? I have a wrestler pedal. But yeah, it's the only signature model pedal for a wrestler. And possibly,
so far.
Yeah.
And the only one so far.
Well,
and possibly the only signature model pedal for someone who doesn't play guitar. I know like one of the first fuzzes was for like a trumpet player, maybe. So who knows?
Crazy. We oddly enough, there is in our live music community here in Columbus, there is a whole like wrestling subculture where they will do bands against bands wrestling and also play. Like a bunch of people that we play with, they just had a wrestling night and they were doing all the pre-show stuff, like just being ridiculous. And it is a weird thing that honestly I don't understand. Actually, one of our closest sort of band bros, the Howling Commandos, have several songs about professional wrestling. But more
nice.
old schooly, and those guys are fantastic. Please go listen to Howling Commandos on Spotify. They are awesome dudes, and so they bring a show so powerful. They're great.
Nice.
Now, would you rather have them listen to the Howling Commandos or the Villentinos?
After the Villentinos, listen to the Howling Command. No, actually, listen to the Commandos first. They were,
But listen to both.
Yeah, do both. Anyways, okay, so that was a long and winding road to your pedal, one of your pedals. Let's talk about the Wonder Drive. Is this fair to say this is your signature pedal?
Yeah, I guess you can call it my flagship. It might not be
not signature. Yeah, flagship's better.
Yeah, it might not be the most.
Would you say this is your flagship pedal?
I would. I would say it's my flagship pedal.
Okay.
That's a good word for that. It was kind of the first pedal I tried to develop on my own, and at first it was kind of like a 4-knob thing with a clean blend and a switch, and it basically came back and 3 of the knobs didn't really do anything. And I was really disappointed, and I was like, this is not how I thought this was going to go. I had someone make a PCB for me, and I populated it and turned it on, and I was like, this just isn't it. So I'll focus on some of the other pedals that I'm working on. And I had a band in here in September of 2022 called No Trigger. Their record just came out. They put out an album called Doctor Album, which is a great name for an album. It's kind of an inside joke that just kind of they kept in the back of their minds for 2 years. I had no idea they were going to call it Doctor Album for real, but here we are. It just came out, and we were looking for some more guitar layer sounds, and I was like, I have this stupid pedal that didn't work. Let's see what it sounds like when I plug it in. And we found like 1 or 2 usable sounds. I kind of just fixed 3 of the knobs in a very specific place and messed with the level and the gain. And they were like, dude, this thing rips. And I was like, well, it doesn't really do what I want it to do. And they're like, but it sounds good like this. And that's when I was like, wonder if I should just find, the values at which these pots are when they're just stuck like that and get rid of them and put out a 2-knob pedal. And I came up with like some weird diode configuration to try to smooth out some of that crackly decay, which did not work, by the way. But it had a really cool, different sound. And it's 3 silicon diodes and 1 LED diode, which is kind of, from what I understand, unorthodox. It's something people don't usually do, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I just stick stuff into holes and see what it sounds like. And I thought it sounded pretty good. So yeah, the next PCB that I ordered had just 2 knobs and that 1 switch. And I was just like, this is cool. Like, I personally really like this. This is not what I intended this pedal to be, but it's its own thing. And it's been over 2 years since I put out the pedal, but I really recently made a little reel on Instagram or TikTok about the toggle being called a Billy switch. And it seems to be getting a lot of traction. And that's because toggle up is Billy Gibbons. And it's kind of a tight, compressed vintage kind of like
that's the
rock
minus.
thing.
That's the minus if you're looking at it.
Yeah, minus, which is basically less, like just less stuff coming at you.
Yeah.
And then if you put the toggle down to the plus sign, that's op amp only clipping, and that's the Billy Corgan side. So it's the Billy switch. It does my 2 Billys. It's less cool to say it does like Weezer and Lynyrd Skynyrd, but that's kind of
You're
what
right.
I intended it to do.
I'll edit that. No, I won't.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. It's a weird beast that was very much an accident. The op amp clipping basically happened from me being frustrated and literally ripping out all the diodes and just being like, I'm starting over, and then strumming it and going, oh, wait a second. I'm like, this thing really has a kind of a gnarly, hairy, thick fuzz sound when I crank the gain. I was like, I wasn't intending for this to happen. And then, it just kept going from there. And I've had people say it's their favorite drive pedal, which is very flattering and very cool. So I guess I'll keep making them.
That's cool. And the one that you gave us came in a very I don't know if you saw the unboxing that I did for this.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was really weird because it was one of those serendipitous moments where I made the thing and I was like, oh, this reminds me of this song, Skin is Black Metallic. And then I was like, oh, I can actually put that on the video. And so it starts playing as soon as I say that, which is very clever. I do say myself.
It's the internet. You could do whatever you want.
You can do things. Anyhow, so yeah, so Tony and I got to play this.
Yep.
And, John's already familiar with it. But Tony, why don't you share some of your experience with this really quick?
Yeah. So, what I found is, for the most part, it's definitely a drive pedal.
And you're playing it out of your hand-wired Vox
AC15.
Yeah.
And,
nice.
And
fun color.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
I'm watching one of those on reverb, so don't tell me how great that amp is, because
it's actually pretty good. I like it better than the 30, but regardless, I use that as kind of my bass because it takes pedals pretty well. I know what the sound sounds like, so that it's a good test amp for me. So what I found, for the most part. And depending on where you put the knobs, I usually start at 12 o'clock on everything and then adjust from there.
Yep.
And it's it's definitely got kind of a more of a distortion pedal. The more gain and output that you dial into it. The Billy switch, which now that I know what that is a really cool feature. And the one thing I actually took time to take it apart. Well, not take it apart, but open up the back and adjust. There's a treble trim pot on the inside.
Did you adjust it back?
Yeah, it's full up now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's back to full up.
Okay.
As you say in your instructions, you don't notice it unless you are really going, heavy duty on the overdrive. But it does tend to clean up, maybe take some of the brittleness out of some of the clipping.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I thought that was a really cool feature. And as I told Todd, I said, I wonder now that I've heard what you said about having wanting to get it down to a 2 knob, I understand why. But I said you could almost put that trim pot as a regular pot on there to have have it externally, I guess, instead of having to open up the back.
Like the little, I don't know what they're actually called. The little tiny ones, the little black.
The technical term is baby nubbin.
Baby nubbin.
Yeah,
that's Tony's nickname.
Oh, that's cute. No, but it's funny that you mentioned that external sort of bright knob, that tone knob, as it might be.
Yeah.
I've been kind of playing with a sort of a prototype that's like half muff, half Wonder Drive, and putting that externally, especially when you're stacking, is super useful. So I'm kind of like kicking myself that I never made it externally, but I think that's something that's going to happen in the future, because I really push for people to try to stack this thing. It sounds really good going into pedals or pedals going into it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, having a little bit more room to manipulate it is definitely something that I'm looking into. And also there's even another clipping option that I've messed with. And I didn't really understand the allure of it before. I was kind of just like, it gets too dark. It's not gainy enough. But Tim over at Bardic Audio Devices.
Tim Novak.
Yeah.
He's our pal.
He was actually commissioned by somebody to do a half muff, half Wonder Drive.
Oh.
And basically a guy asked me to build that. And I was like, I don't really do custom one-off things. I end up, hiring people to do my PCBs. It's not something I do personally. I just make the pedal sound how I want it and have somebody do the sciencey stuff, the nerd stuff, because you're all geeks, John. And then anyway, oh, that sounded like an ogre. That was scary. But yeah, so I hit up Tim and I was like, hey, buddy, you have my schematic for the Wonder Drive. Do you want to do this custom project for this dude? And Tim ended up sending me one of those, the muff and the Wonder Drive. And I was like, I shouldn't even be talking about this because it's so top secret. But it had that extra silicon clipping that was symmetrical. and it played really well with other pedals. And I was like, oh man. So yeah, it's so cool. You know, like, so the Wonder Drive is very less is more, and it's very minimalist. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
that's cool. Well, it's a super usable pedal. I mean, that's one of the things when Tony and I were talking, because I played it through my rig and went through a Marshall Origin 50.
Nice.
And I put it in front, I put it in back, I kind of mix it up with some, and for me, this pedal is like this is a fantastic sidekick pedal. This is something that makes anything that I put it before or after sound cooler, differenter. You know,
rad, yeah.
So that's where I said, well, this is really, really useful, especially with the switch, and not getting lost in. You know, sometimes if you're stacking and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got how many tone controls do I have before I even get off the board, you know, into an entire
Right.
other EQs, you know. So you can really mess up your intent if you're not careful, because those things start to add up quickly. And that's one thing I appreciated about this one in particular.
Oh, very cool, man. I'm glad you had a good time with it.
Can you tell us what, anybody looking at the Wonder Drive, and I think we've got some icons on here. Anything, I mean, obviously you put them there for a reason.
Oh, those little icons on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I started making pedals in early 2020, I wasn't printing anything with UV printing, and I didn't really know how to go about that even. So I was like, okay, I can write stuff by hand, and I have really bad handwriting. So I was like, I don't want to write, level and gain on the pedal. So I kind of did like a little arrow for volume and a little kind of upward squiggle, kind of like in the same vein as like my orange amp. I have an orange rock reverb Mark III that has like all like those little like pictograms on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, pictures are good enough and I can draw those fine. So for a while I was doing these 2 knob pedals that had the little arrow and then the little squiggle. Mm-hmm. So when it came time to actually get art done for the pedal with like the badge icon, I was like, man, we should just keep rolling with these little pictures.
Right.
And then on some of my other pedals, Old Blue and the Red Rider, for my tone, I call it the range knob, and it has like a target with 2 arrows coming at it. Mm-hmm. And then there's a weight knob, like the low end, pre-gain low end, and it has like a little anvil on it with an arrow pointed down. So yeah, I'm kind of developing a few fun little icons that are hopefully going to be mainstays on the pedal. But yeah, it all kind of started with me not wanting to write on the pedal.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Hey, I really appreciate you holding off. I know that sounds weird, but I really respected that answer back. A long time ago, I said, "Love to have you on the show," and I'm glad that we waited, because I think you probably got a whole lot more under your belt, and are making it all the different pedals and everything, and advanced quite a bit.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was able to ride out the storm, even though like 2020 and 2021 were very good to me and very good to pedal makers and gear companies in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was still there were so many growing pains. For every cool thing I learned, there'd be 2 steps back where I ordered the wrong thing, and an entire pre-order batch was screwed, and I needed to message everybody. There's all these things I think that companies face early on, things you learn not to do. And I was kind of just like, I want to be in a place where I have a line of pedals, I have some stock, and I have a direction. And so I'm super glad that you had me back. And and honestly, my brain is still racing with like new pedal ideas as we're talking, as it always is. I'm like, oh man, I should do the external Wonder Drive tone knob, and then maybe I should add that extra clipping. Oh, maybe I'll do a Wonder Drive Deluxe. Like, I cannot stop thinking of pedals
That's a
and
good
ideas.
problem to have, man.
Yeah, it's great, but then sometimes I'll have an idea in the middle of the night, and then I'll spend a bunch of money to get something going and be like, I didn't really want to do this. Why am I doing this? And then yeah, I have some really hilarious looking prototype boards in front of me where I'm like, what was this? Like, I was like, I want it to be half the DNA of this animal and half the DNA of this pedal. And everyone's like, what are you doing, man? So, yeah.
Well, hey, everybody, you need to go check out Oneder Effects and get your hands on something that he makes, because he's got a lot of thought behind it. You just listen to all the thinkings and all the thoughts. So that usually translates into good sounding pedals and well made. That's the other thing. These are really, really solid pedals. This is not a, open up the box and go like, well, I better not touch or bump it or anything. No, this is a very gig friendly pedal.
Yeah, that's definitely a goal. And, they're designed by ear. Like mathematically, I'm sure some of the stuff would be easy to figure out, but it literally is me pulling stuff out, putting stuff in, listening to it on 5 different amps. Luckily I have a studio and a soundproof room, so I can crank a little Fender amp to 10. I can crank a Marshall style amp all the way. I can listen to stuff in like bedroom levels, and I'm always seeing how different pedals work with different guitars and different amps. And it's a long, painstaking process, but when I finally get it, I'm like, okay, this is why I've been spending so many hours doing this. And people seem to be liking it. Some of my pedals are a little unique and wild. Like the Wonder Drive is definitely, it's got this like 800 hertz mid range to it. So it can get like Brian May at times and Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
But then, something like Old Blue, it's very neutral, low gain. Like anybody could use it. So yeah, there's something hopefully for everybody. And I'm just going to keep expanding and getting weirder, as well as, I have a boost too. Forgot about that. It looks like bread. That's fun.
Yeah. That's fun.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really fun one. It has a little secret fuzz switch that's actually really, really fun to play with. And the dirty boost side, people are just like, yeah, I didn't need a new boost, but put it on the dirty boost.
But yes, I do.
It's 2 boosts in a row, and it sounds like people have said it, like an old Vox amp that's cranked. And I was like, oh, heck yeah. Like that wasn't my intent, but I'm glad it sounds like a Vox to you. Cool. And did I mention it looks like bread? That's fun. So yeah, it's past my bedtime. That's why I'm sounding weird.
Have you ever considered making it look like bread?
I'm afraid that I'll get a cease and desist. Oh wait, I am not afraid. Like Red Rider hasn't even come at me. The Daisy air rifle.
Oh, that's
company.
right. That's right.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be like rip off meme pedal guy, but I want pedals to be
there,
fun.
Nah, it looks cool. It looks cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want pedals to be fun. I think that's what it's all about. I do take what I do seriously, but I want people to have a good time. Go play music, enjoy looking at the pedals, enjoy listening to them. Just like, don't worry about it so much. Forget about everything that's going on in your world and just riff out for a bit and then go back to the hospital and finish up your surgery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Word them up on the level, as
Exactly.
as Public Enemy would say. All right. Hey, everybody. Let's first of all, thank you so much, Nick, for sharing your story with all of us. And seriously, people, go check out what he can do for you as far as getting a new pedal on your board.
Thank you.
We need to. What are we doing right now, Tony?
We're hopping in the El Camino.
That's right.
Got to track down Jared. He's down in Nashville somewhere.
Yes.
I suspect he's at Martin's Barbecue.
That's likely.
Very likely.
Yeah.
Very likely.
Okay.
So anyhow, we're going to hop in the old El Camino, and we're going to do a little thing that we call Would You Rather?
That's terrible, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to, Jared, this is his segment.
It is.
So,
All right, go.
All right, this Would You Rather is brought to us by one of our good friends, Andrew DeHaan.
Yes, returning to the fold, Andrew DeHaan.
Yes. And this is what he calls the Would You Rather Mischievous Haunted Guitar Edition.
Ooh.
Because we are getting close to Halloween.
My favorite season.
It is. The fall is upon us. So you're walking down the street when you get a phone call from a friend who manages a couple of groups in need of your excellent guitar mastery. One group is a touring country act in need of someone to wield a B-bender. The other is a Pantera tribute band who need you to pull off Dimebag's riffs and whammy tricks. The catch is each group requires you to play a heinously haunted guitar.
Ew.
Ooh, scary stuff. For the country group, it's a B-bender where every time you bend the B, your fly mysteriously gets unzipped.
Okay.
For the
right.
for the Pantera group, you've got a Camo Dean that whenever
So that's a camouflage version. The Dean guitar is camouflage,
like Dimebag played.
Like Dimebag.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever
How would you even see it?
Keep going.
Okay. Just don't wear camouflage shorts. Whenever you hit the whammy, your pants get pulled up an inch, slowly giving you a wedgie. Both gigs play well, and you're desperate for the money. Which would you rather do?
Okay. Thank you, Andrew, for sending that in. Tony, what are you going to do?
I am not qualified to be in either band. But
That's fair to say.
I would much rather do the B-bender because I've monkeyed with those. I'm not good. And I think I'd much rather have my fly come down than get a wedgie. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the B-bender.
Okay. Sounds good. John?
So I'm going to say something pretty controversial.
Okay.
I don't care for country music or Pantera.
That's not controversial at all.
So I'm going to take that whole aspect out of this scenario.
That's a very one-sided way to validate what you just said.
Hey, guys, I hate everything. Okay.
Those are just two genres that I do not fall into. So all of that said, given the choice of the guitars and the actions that happen as a result of them, I would go with the B-bender because I think that guitar would speak to me more anyway. And I mean, to be fair, I'd say half the days I walk around town, it's about 5 p.m. and I realize my fly's been down since I left the house. So my fly being down is really not going to hurt my feelings a lot.
Yeah, it's your look.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Nick, what are you doing?
Well, I'm toying back and forth with the different options. I have experience playing a haunted instrument. I bought a banjo from a guy that I found out was dead. I didn't buy it from him while he was a ghost. I bought it from his son, and I didn't know that the guy who owned it was dead. So I have a haunted banjo in my house.
Oh my.
So yeah, it happens. I grew up playing blues and Southern rock, and I really like kind of Fendery clean amps these days. I played with the B-bender not too long ago, and I've also played a show naked. So my zipper coming down doesn't bother me at all. I think I would do better in the haunted country band with the zipper coming down and the B-bender. However, with the wedgie, I feel like I would make a better metal face. And sometimes that's all that matters. Like I've had to poop really bad on stage before. And like you make a face and I mean, it's literally a stink face. You're like, it's coming out, man.
No.
And so, yeah, like I'm not that great at playing metal, but I feel like if you give anyone high gain enough and they make a face, I think you can pull it off. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the metal wedgie. I just feel like
he's doing it.
All right.
Good for you. You're a brave man.
Let's go metal wedgie. And I think it's kind of like a masochism sort of thing, you know, like kind of like eating like a really spicy dish. It's like, let me get out there and just give me that wedgie that just keeps going up.
It's a rite of passage.
It's
Yeah.
Anytime I hear the word spicy, Tony, you might be on the same wavelength. I'm gonna say it.
That's a spicy meatball.
That's a really old ad. See, I got you.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know what? I'm going to Metal Island with our pal Nick here.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, because I mean, look, if somebody's gonna hand me a crazy guitar and they would say, "All right, you gotta just whammy the living bejeebers out of this for no real good reason at all," I'm all over. I'll do that.
He'll do it all day long.
Because everybody else will be making the stinky poo poo face if I'm on a clean amp with a B bender. Forget about the zipper. They're gonna be like, "Oh Lord, this boy can't play." You know,
I've got the vapors.
yeah. Cornelius, do I see you? This boy's so bad. I feel like I'm dying inside. All right. I don't know what that was all about. We need to thank a few people.
Well, strangely enough, Andrew did not tell us what his choice would be.
He didn't.
So we're going
Shame
to have
on
to,
you, Andrew.
We're going to have to find out.
For shame.
We'll do some follow-up investigation.
Yes.
Well, Todd, as you mentioned, we're at the point of the show where we like to thank a special group of people. These are our executive producers. Now, what's an executive producer? It's a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast, and makes the show possible. How do you become one? You go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast. Each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts. But there's one thing more as an executive producer that you get. What is that, Jared?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. What? Was that the ghost of Jared? He must be in the building. So special thanks to these executive producers. Moon Guitars, Vaderin Pedals, John Helverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D., Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemalero, Billy Gola Guitars, John Esterly, sitting to my immediate left, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk from Wonderful Audio Technology. What? Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, and yes, Andrew DeHaan is back as an executive producer. Welcome back, my good friend.
Indeed.
Now, see, now stop interrupting me, Todd.
Sorry.
Your delay interruption.
I was slow.
I feel like some names I'm used to hearing weren't on that
Oh,
list.
yes, because there's a level of executive producers we call our grand poobahs. These are the top of the heap, the creme de la creme. These fine sponsors have a fez to wear while listening to the podcast. It's the law. Do not break the law. So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Igareda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. Eddie Serratos, David Poe, and what's this? A new Grand Poobah? The man we met on the last episode? The Billy Spitfire.
Billy.
How about that? Not only does he come on and help us out with the show, he's a grand poobah. Thank you, Billy. And thank the rest of you.
Thank you, Billy. And thank the rest of you. We are grateful for our supporters. there's no other way to say that. It's just truly, we are so thankful for you guys. We need to usher ourselves out of here at this point in time.
Yes.
And Nick, why don't you tell us where people can find your stuff?
WonderEffects.com. I'm on Wonder Effects on Instagram. And I don't know, you don't have to go to TikTok. That's not, who cares? But that's about it. Yeah. And it's funny. I just got a text that says my 5-year-old will not go to sleep unless I come back upstairs. So he is just partying right now.
Nice. Nice.
And I was just kind of like, oh, well, he can play on his iPad. So yeah, this has been awesome. I like talking to grown-ups. If you guys consider yourselves grown-ups.
No.
Yeah, normally my best friend is a 1.5-year-old and a 5-year-old. So this has been nice. Thank you for having me on.
You bet, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Little Nubbins, where can people find you?
Why don't you just go over to pickguardian.com and check out some of the wares I have available for sale. But mostly what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you're trying to do, and I'll be more than happy to take care of you. Pickguardian.com.
Word. All right. John.
So you can find me on Instagram at rarebuzzer, rarebuzzer.com. 1970 series, 5 out of 6 of them are done. 3 of them are at their photo shoot right now, so they'll be on the website real soon. Nick mentioned the Snitch earlier. Now, unfortunately, folks, Snitch is out of production, but if you like the Snitch, the 1970 Distortion is the same pedal.
What?
Yep.
What about the Cyborg? But that's out of production, too.
It is also out of production, and the 1970 Distortion is even more the same pedal as the Cyborg.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Check those out, and yeah.
All right. Thank you. You can shoot me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can also DM me directly on Instagram at guitarknobs. Go ahead and share your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams, and your would you rathers. Send those our way. We'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you to Nick from Wonder Effects. Go check those things out. Have a fantastic guitar week, everybody, and subscribe!
Yeah.
Stop talking to me.
Oh,
Quiet on the set!
Tony, what?
I am in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
Kill it.
I look pretty good though.
You do. I'm not going to lie.
Check it out. I even have this ring light. This is for content.
It is.
Hello?
What the hell is going on here?
More importantly, can
pretty
you
good.
hear me?
Oh my gosh. Freaking. He's got a fridge in the basement that's chock full of rosé.
Well, you see, I no longer have to drink a 6-pack to keep me from cutting off your head and putting it in a bowling bag.
You've escalated. Hey, guess, look at everything.
How do I kill my video? Video input. Mute.
Boo.
And he's gone.
Well, that's very boring of you.
I know.
I also have, look at that.
What?
I got that to put things on. You're like a parted haircut away from the baker in the Fantastic Beasts movie.
I do like donuts.
You got an ice cream and it melted all over my hand, and I couldn't use the phone and get in the car. Nick's like, this play-by-play is riveting, guys.
No, this is great.
If you were in Kiss, who would you be?
I think I'd have to be Ace Frehley.
Why don't we have a pedal maker cage match?
I am still here.
You're like, why, though?
Dear God, my brain is gone.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.